Hello, I'm Tim Beggins, president of Elk Trading Company. In this week's natural gas weekly recap, natural gas prices are almost unchanged. Here we have the natural gas continuation chart on tradingview.com using the adaptive flow indicator. As you can see, prices are currently at 339 and a half, down 1.5 cents. This is almost unchanged. Let's take a look at the spot March contract. As you can see, prices are just sitting in a very tight range today for Friday and are holding around its daily pivot at 338 and a half. On this particular chart, you can see that support will come in at 332.90 and resistance will be at 346. So let's turn to the hourly chart. The hourly chart here shows that we're just trending sideways. I've taken the two support levels for the pivots, split it in half, and as you can see, this 50% rule shows that when we could not break above 50% of that range, we just trended back down to the daily pivot. Again, that daily pivot coming in at 338.20. Right now, prices are just hovering above that at 339.60, down 1.1 cents. So our outlook right now, pretty much sideways going into the weekend. The reason? We've kind of got some mixed signals. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Yesterday, for the weekly natural gas storage report, storage drew down 174 BCF for the week. As you can see, it was a net change lower for all areas, including salt and non-salt, and East and Midwest was the biggest draw, followed by the South Central, and then, of course, the East at minus 45. This is for the colder weather that will be coming through. We could see that there is still a pool of cold air across eastern Siberia, crossing across the Arctic, and then down into Canada, with most of the cold centered along eastern Canada and Greenland. We can see as we go through the model that the cold air tries to come into the United States, but is periodically blocked around the US-Canadian border. It does try once again to make a major Arctic intrusion toward the end of the period here, which would be about the third week in February. Let's take a look at the United States. For the US, as you can see, very warm temperatures right now across the southern tier of the United States, with 80 degrees in Texas here in Houston, at least through the next 2 days. We can see that as we go through, cold Arctic air seems to be blocked at the US-Canadian border, and that pool of cold air continues to build as we go through the next 2 weeks. We can see that Valentine's Day is fairly warm in Florida, and then it really starts to possibly get colder immediately thereafter around the 17th and 18th for the Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and New England states. Then around the third week of February, we could see that another intrusion of cold Arctic air is forecast to descend through the Rockies and possibly down through the central part of the United States. Let's turn to Europe. Europe is cold. Europe is cold for this forecast, as we talked about last week and earlier this week. As you can see, most of Europe, including Eastern Europe and Turkey, remains very cold. As this case shows, there is still Arctic air building inside of Russia and in around Scandinavia. As you can tell right here, that temperature outlook continues for at least the next 2 weeks. And what else is happening in Europe? Wind, lack of wind. In fact, for yesterday, the wind share was only 11.8% of all generation. So low wind in Germany down to 15.5%. In France, 11.4%. The best area for wind, Sweden, at 33.7% yesterday. And let's take a look at Asia. Asia continues to be much of the same. It is still cold around Beijing, the capital city area, through the Koreas and Japan, but the eastern provinces of China, especially down south near Guangdong province and Hong Kong, Macau, still remains fairly warm through this period. It's much of the same, and that means that LNG can be redirected toward Europe. Let's take a look at the stock here in the E&P sector for the week. This is the 1 week performance. So we do have some mixture here for some of the greens, these are Canadian companies. With the tariffs now being suspended, these stocks have rebounded with this is also Texas Pacific Land, but you could see some of the other stocks that have been flying very high with colder temperatures, such as Comstock, have started to undergo some profit taking. Let's take a look at the midstream section. Here, TC Energy Corporation, TransCanada, up 4.4% for the week. As you can see, this is Enbridge, also a Canadian company, up 2.36% for the week. Some of the other stocks, Cheniere down 2.89%, and Cheniere Energy Partners is up barely 0.65%. So let's take a recap again. Natural gas prices are almost unchanged, currently trading $338.10, down 2.9 cents or 0.85% for the week, closing it out on a quiet note. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.